passed along.
Oh, it's certainly enjoyable, and thanks for doing a great job with it.
All right. And also thanks to Andrew Zarian and to Suncast, co-producers on this episode of This Week in Radio Tech. Be sure you patronize our sponsors. Check them out. Go to their websites and give them a call and all that, because they do make the show possible. We really couldn't do it without their help and without the help of the GFQ Network. Check out the other fine podcasts at gfqnetwork.com. Thanks a lot, everybody. We'll be back next week with another episode of This Week in Radio Tech. Bye-bye.
Sorry.
All right. We'll begin in 3, 2, and 1. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Mat Men, your source for all things professional wrestling. I'm Andrew Zarian. Rich Stambolian is not here with us. He's out on assignment. By that, I mean he had to work. Instead, with me, we have a great guest. We have Josh Coleman. How you doing, Josh? Josh, you can't see me, Coleman. How you doing?
I'm doing great. No, it's great to be here. My favorite wrestling show, Mat Men. It's wonderful to be here.
Also, Larry Legend from Ring of Honor will be joining us in a little bit. We're going to be talking about the pay-per-view coming up. A lot of events happening at Ring of Honor. Give them a little plug. War of the Worlds, Night 1, May 12th. And the second night, May 13th, at the ECW Arena, the world-famous ECW Arena. Then on May 15th and 16th, they're going to Toronto for Global Wars 15. This is a combination show they're doing with New Japan, and this card is freaking stacked. If you are a pro wrestling fan, I'm not talking about a sports entertainment fan. I'm talking about a pro wrestling fan. You have to watch this. I mean, you have to watch this, because the level of wrestling that you are going to get, you are not going to see anywhere else.
What's the over-under on injuries?
It's rare, man. It's rare.
4 days.
These guys are not getting injured because they know how to work with each other. I mean,
wow.
Look at the stiff style of Japan. Right now, a lot of the guys are tired. They're getting injured because they're veterans at this point, but you see this quality of matches that New Japan is putting out and Ring of Honor is putting out, and it's going to be great. And I know you're
call them
the Stevie Kicks.
The Stevie Kicks.
Is that their tag name? Yeah, that's a great name.
That's what I call, because every time you watch a wrestle, it's just Stevie Kicks, Stevie Kicks.
So check it out, guys. If you just check out one night, because the iPay-per-view is going to be night 1 of Toronto, and night 1 of Toronto is the pay-per-view. Philly is not a pay-per-view.
No, so you'll probably see all the. I'm assuming it's going to be similar.
I just want to watch
right?
Nakamura come down to the ring.
I know he's fighting ACH. Do we know anything about that guy?
Yeah, he's very good. ACH is very good. Yeah,
I'm a huge Briscoe guy too.
I know they live right down by you, right down the street.
We them boys
down the street from you.
All right, so what are we talking about today?
A lot is going on. So where do we begin? I don't know where to begin with this. Did you watch the ESPN thing?
Yes.
What'd you think of it?
I thought it was an amazing piece done in the ESPN style with professional wrestling. And I heard, this is also what I heard, and you can either confirm this, is that they did follow multiple wrestlers in that they went with these three because these three are recognizable in the company right now. And they told, the Justin Rose story is unbelievable.
Why do you keep calling him that? Why do you keep doing that?
I did that on purpose.
I know. He's been calling. He keeps, every time he calls me, he's like, "Did you hear about Justin Rose?" I'm like, "I don't know who that is." Well, they also went with two guys that, like, they went with the New Day. They went with Xavier Woods because of the tag title change, or they changed the title because of this. But ESPN, they followed a bunch of people. Colin Cassidy was one guy that they followed that I saw the video for. There's a bunch of these, and I'm hoping that these videos come out. But it's a nice little look at who they are as people.
Right.
Because Adam Rose, to me, has not been a likable character. I watched this video. My heart broke for this guy.
Yeah.
And they made him look really likable. And it just says something about the current product where how is ESPN able to make him likable in a 45-minute period and get him over, and the WWE is not? I think the fact is that these are real guys, right? They're real people. And the real people are more interesting than the character. They've gone so far away from real people. John Cena, the top two guys, think about it. Isn't Adam Rose the top guy in that company? No. Who is it? John Cena, which he's who he is. Randy Orton, he's who he is. Yeah. They're real people. They've got, and I hope that's something that they got from this ESPN piece, that the real people, the real stories work. The fact that this guy, I mean, what a great story that is. The fact that he has a sick kid and he has a wife and he has another kid and he just wants to make it in this business.
But that's the story, because look at Xavier Woods. We've all heard this about he has a PhD, like all the stuff they were talking about. We knew everything about him. And then
you know what they do, and this drives me nuts with them. They have him going out there and dancing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What does the character have to do with the fact that he has a PhD? You know what I would do? Turn him into a heel and talk about how much smarter he is than anybody else in that business. Everybody's you're a bunch of dropouts and jocks.
So you want more? You want reality now in your wrestling?
I do. But that's always been that. Look at the Genius, by the way, for example.
I heard a term, by the way, that I did not like what they're calling this current generation of wrestling.
The reality era?
No, the gratitude era.
What does that mean?
So it's meaning that the fans are having so much like affecting storylines now that they're basically just gratifying the fans.
I don't know how much that is, but I don't know if that's true.
I mean, they had to rewrite everything from Royal Rumble because of what the fans' reaction.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing.
But I mean, that's what they're calling this era now. Or maybe I'm terming it.
No. I think in a way you're right. I think it reflects on being connected to pop culture, and that's something that wrestling has always had a difficult time doing. They've at times connected, and then they just like they go far away from what's reality and what's happening right
this
now.
This time of year is when they hit. Yeah,
they just got into this, but it also tells you who's the boss. It's a 70-year-old man. Obviously, he's not going to be connected to everything happening in pop culture. Think of how long it's taken to embrace the hardcore fan. The hardcore fan. The people watching this podcast, us that's doing essentially a radio show about professional wrestling, we were called marks for years.
Right.
For years. And it was I can't imagine any other company or any other organization or any other business where you turn your back on the most dedicated people, in the sense that you look at them and you go, oh, what a loser. He likes what I do.
Right.
That was like the old school mentality. And that's really changing with social media and social networking.
So, but do you think this is? I mean, obviously, it's ruined kayfabe, right? So
I don't think so. I think it's added to it.
Well, yeah, when you see people like Lana doing her Instagram in character, but that means they need to do these things in character. Like, why not call each other out on YouTube or do something else like on social media more?
I see. It's a weird time. It's a really weird transitional period for them, because characters work and then sometimes they don't. Reality, like Lana's a great example. By the way, this week we're putting that clip up that we did last week where I booked Lana.
Oh, yeah, it was great.
I got so much freaking feedback about that, where people love the idea, the storyline that I created for her.
It was great.
But
I added visions of her getting English lessons in a classroom.
Yeah, but Lana's far more interesting than CJ. Whatever her name is, if that's what they're going with.
Please.
But because Lana's a deep character. There's so much. There's depth. There's comedy. There's seriousness. There's so much happening with that character. Where I'm glad I like her to be a character. I like Rusev as a character.
Yes.
But I also would like to see other people not be a character. It's a weird balance.
Like you don't want them in their gimmick. Like here, I'll give you a perfect example. Do you want Wade Barrett in that character he's in right now? I don't.
I don't know.
He should not be the King of the Ring. It should have been King Neville, and you actually make Wade Barrett good like he was when he was the leader of the Nexus again. He was the best then.
I don't know. I kind of like it. I think it's over. I like him as a character, but the problem is what happens to Wade Barrett? There's a whole group of these guys that came up at the same time, and it's kind of gone past beyond that. That 2009, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010 group of people, we've kind of gone beyond that developmental group.
Well, Here's my other problem. I mean, we're going really minute stuff, but here's the main A storyline right now in WWE is person versus the Authority, right? That's the A storyline. So whoever's the top guy is going to fight the Authority.
Sure.
When is that going to change as not being the A storyline? Is like, that's what's hurting it. It's like, how many times can we have Triple H and Stephanie push down someone?
Yeah, that. See, I'm not against the Authority storyline. I'm against the way that they handle, like, Stephanie dismissing people kills me. Where she makes them, like, she'll just dismiss you in this, like, mom is yelling at you type voice. And it really hurts it for me when Stephanie is dismissing you. Like, when Stephanie is looking at Seth Rollins and, like, talking to him like he's an idiot.
Yeah,
that's your world champion, like
right.
that's your heavyweight. That's the guy. It kind of hurts it. I don't know. They're in a weird transition period, and luckily for us, even if you don't like wrestling, you have an option. But I have to say this: Monday was one of the best Raws in a very long time.
I would agree with you.
Very, very long time. That Raw was great for 90% of the card. I would say that the Stardust match and R-Truth kind of was the crap part, but it was a great show. But why was that
storyline involved in that match at all?
Yeah.
I can't remember it at all.
R-Truth is afraid of spiders. So here is a 40-something-year-old man running away from plastic spiders.
Oh, sorry, R-Truth. R-Truth, another guy who put a suit on him and make him just a badass.
By the way, that's an NWA world champion. That's a TNA champion.
I think he's great. I think he's being misused too. I don't need him to come and rap to me. What's up? What's up?
I think the Kane storyline is actually Jeremy in our chat brings it up. I think the Kane storyline is pretty well done.
I agree.
I care about him now. I care about Kane. Like, I care about the storyline. Like, I want to see him turn.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think it's done well.
I didn't think he was. I don't know. He wasn't pulling it off as well to me. I thought. You thought he was? Yeah.
I don't know. At times,
I didn't feel like he was really struggling with making decisions. You know what I mean?
What they tend to do with this, like, if Kane is supposed to turn, let's say this week, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody wants him to turn. They'll hold it. They'll hold it for like another 2 weeks, and by the time they turn him, nobody cares.
Right.
Nobody cares. I thought the New Day was perfect on Raw.
Let's give them a lot of credit for.
And you know what? Everybody crapped on me when I said these guys are great at the pay-per-view.
Great.
Everybody on Twitter was saying, "Well, no, they didn't understand why." These guys are phenomenal now.
3 great, amazing athletes.
Xavier Woods, just give him the mic.
Agreed.
This guy's
100%.
great.
He should be the talker of that group.
And the fact that they're doing Freebird rules, even better.
Even better.
When they came out to challenge Orton and Reigns,
right?
I really was concerned that they're going to drop the titles to them, or they're going to lose because
they're going to do the thing where they're like friends and then fight. That would be awful.
But because normally when you have a tag team go against the 2 main eventers, they'll lose to the main eventers, but they didn't do it this time. The New Day beat them.
Yeah.
And I think that helped. I mean, it was fine with the storyline. The storyline actually made sense at the end. They feuded at the end of the night, but the New Day is phenomenal. Cesaro and Kid totally over as baby faces, which who would have thought that? They've gotten really over.
Tag team wrestling.
Yeah, it's a lot of tag team wrestling happening.
Similar to 1989, 1990.
I know you want to talk about it. You want to talk about that for a minute?
I mean, a little bit.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So recently, Andrew and I were talking, and I went back to my childhood of wrestling. And basically, the wheelhouse of my childhood of wrestling is 87 to like 92. But I told him that the greatest era of wrestling, I think, better than the Attitude Era, is the 89 to 90, a little bit of 91, with the whole Macho Man and Hogan. And it's
Macho
the
Man,
reason
Hogan,
why
Warrior.
Macho and Warrior too. Macho Man and Hogan and Warrior are considered legends is because of that time period. That was in February 89, Saturday night's main event. Everyone should watch it if you have it on the network. That is the single best night of wrestling that they've ever done. And let's break it down how and go through the episode, because it's not like a Raw that we would see today.
No, it's a 1-hour show. And
how does it start though? With the
so
first
it
match?
starts out with the main event. The main event starts the show and they continue the
The main event is
storyline.
not a one-on-one, is it?
What?
The main event isn't a one-on-one.
Sometimes it was.
Well, no, I'm saying for this episode. It
No,
was a tag.
I'm trying to find the card actually for February '89. Was it February what? What was the date?
1989. Oh, the exact day?
Yeah, December.
It'd be one of those Saturdays. All I know is it was Macho and Hogan versus Akeem and
wait,
Boston.
was it February '89? Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Saturday night's main event on February 16, 1989 in Hershey,
Yes.
Pennsylvania. Hogan versus Bad News Brown. That is not the match.
And it's the one before that.
Hogan with Elizabeth
So Hogan
defeated
played-
Akeem. This is December.
No, we watched it on the thing.
I know. Maybe this card is wrong here.
I'm bringing it up on the WWE app for $9.99.
Yeah, tell me today. I wonder if the network got the date wrong.
How could that be?
I don't know.
You think that would be possible?
I'm looking here. I'm looking at the
First of
tapings. Are you on the network?
Yes, I'm on the network. Shows. Vault. Saturday night's main event. All right. Years. 1989. Done.
Yeah, I want to see this.
February 89. 2/3/89.
2/3/89. According to this, there was no 2/3/89.
It says the tension between the Mega Powers reaches a fever pitch as Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage battle the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
Big Boss Man and Akeem. Hercules faces the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and more. So anyway, first match comes out, main event, and they do a little bunch of little promos, both sides. They sort of mention like a love triangle between Hogan and Elizabeth and Macho Man, but we think they're all friends. The match happens. Macho Man accidentally hits Liz. She's down on the ground. Hogan goes to see what's wrong, leaves Macho Man in the ring, takes her to the back, and leaves Macho Man with the Twin
First
Towers.
of all, that's the infamous, like, that's the best one ever. That's like the infamous storyline where there's a whole story about how they went to break, and what happened was they were on break and they're behind the scenes. So they're like the nurses helping and Hogan's there and Macho's there.
Yep.
And they actually got into a fight off camera, like during the break. They
Really?
got into a fight with each other over. I think it was Liz. Like, I think it was like, why'd you look at Liz like that? And Hogan,
that
when
sort of
they
makes
come
sense
back,
in that-
when they
yeah.
come back from break,
Right.
Hogan says something like, "Bro, are you serious?" or something like that.
Right,
He was
he does.
mid discussion, and then he realizes he's on, and then he goes into like wrestling mode.
Right. No, it's incredible television. I don't want to spoil a lot of it, but something happens there. Hogan then goes back to the ring after the fight. They come back and they just blow up with each other. And then you get updates during the rest of the episode about what's going on with Liz, what's going on with Hogan, where's Macho Man, and it's just building up the tension and just like you just want to know only what's going on backstage. It's the greatest hour of television I've ever seen.
I wonder if this was a special airing because Jeremy in our chat says February 3rd, 1989 was a Friday.
That's crazy.
It could have been, it's not listed.
2/3/89 in the app.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, so I want everyone to go back and it's better to start earlier in 1988 when they're starting to before they become the Mega Powers. I don't have the exact date for you, but that is my favorite storyline.
Yeah, and it continued to 1992, 85 to 1992. Dick Eppersall was part of it, NBC executive. He was the co-creator of the show.
Genius.
With Vince McMahon, and this was a hit. This was a success.
Yep.
But if you're going to watch anything on the network, watch that show. A couple of things that you pick up from this is that the genius was like everywhere. He was like totally involved.
Right.
And Kurt Hennig was totally involved.
Right.
Akeem is brilliant.
Brilliant. You love the hand gimmick.
I love the hand gimmick. I love the movement of the hands and the fact that he's like the true black man. There was an Arsenio Hall episode where like he got into Arsenio's face and said something like Slick is like, this is like a real African.
How good is Slick, by the way, on the mic?
Slick is great.
I'm really enjoying watching him on the mic. Like, he is really amazing. Like, I know now why he was with so many guys who couldn't talk.
He's
Ted
phenomenal.
DiBiase, by the way, was like one of the top heels. How about that during that time?
DiBiase's doing well. Ultimate Warrior, you start seeing how he's coming up. There's a great match between Andre and him where Andre's potatoing him the entire match.
Right. What about when Andre's afraid of Damien and he's running out of the ring?
What year was that? I haven't reached that part.
Oh, that's in '89.
So here's something interesting about this. Jake Roberts to me was always a heel. Because
Really?
I don't really remember his pre-heel run. He was a babyface. He was a face. I don't remember that. I remember him being like this vile heel. And one of the first memories I have of Jake Roberts is, obviously I remember parts of it, but the first like major moment that I remember is when Damien bit Randy Savage.
Right.
I mean, that was like the
That was
first
WrestleMania 4?
No, what are you talking about? That's 8, 9.
Oh God, you are right. I'm doing that thing with the years again.
That was around then.
Yeah.
You're mixing up the years. So check it out. Saturday night's main event. It's very good. Very good stuff.
Yeah, and they also put the Hulk Hogan rock and roll cartoon, and they put one episode up. I was like, what's the point of this? Did you notice that?
I haven't checked it out yet. No, I haven't checked it out. Have you watched anything else like from the Vault? Since we're talking about the old stuff,
you could bring up anything. I've probably seen it.
You've seen like the old like Madison Square Garden stuff that they have?
Yes.
Because that used to be a thing we used to watch on USA on MSG here in New York.
Yeah, I didn't have that. I did not have that.
Oh, Damien didn't bite. The Cobra did. Wasn't it Damien? Wasn't they all named Damien?
I don't remember. But I did not watch NXT. Did you?
I haven't watched it this week. No, I didn't get a chance.
What was the other thing that I watched the Roman Reigns thing on the network.
Oh, you know what? It was Lucifer. Lucifer bit him. There was Lucifer and Damien. That's what it was. Yeah. No, I've been watching a lot of the old stuff. I mean, you got me into Saturday Night's Main Event down that I was watching 90.
Right. I just watch back and then in between.
Of that boom period.
Yeah.
That's approaching the end. So you have 89 and 90, and I think 91 was the end of it.
Yeah. And 92 was like the part where like Razor Ramon and Sid and all those guys.
Well, you know what killed it? When you talk about that era, what destroyed it was Ultimate Warrior not getting over. So Hogan was taking some time off, and they were going to put the belt on Warrior.
Right.
And Warrior did not do well, or as well as they thought early on.
Really?
Yeah. So
because after WrestleMania 6, he was so over.
Well, no, the main event for WrestleMania 7. I mean, McMahon wanted to do the Coliseum in
7
in LA.
Was the one where it went down.
The LA Coliseum, and I think that's like 100,000 people.
Right.
So they wanted to sell out 100,000 people. It was already being promoted the year prior, WrestleMania 6, that they were going to go there, and the rematch, the main event was going to be Warrior Hogan, and Hogan was going to get the title belt back. And that did not happen. Hogan left for a little bit. Warrior didn't draw well. House attendance was down. They took the title off of him. They gave it to Slaughter. Slaughter wasn't that strong of a guy to carry the belt, and everything went back. It went back to Hogan the following year, but they were
then he left.
Who?
Hogan left in 92.
Well, I'm talking about 1990 now. I'm in 91.
Wait, so Slaughter had it in 89? He
had
the belt?
He had the belt because he
had
it
in 91.
Yeah, because Warrior got the belt in 90.
Okay, and then Hogan came back and had it at the end of 91. And
he
had
it at the beginning of 91.
Beginning of 91.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then that led into Rumble.
Wow, that is a weird time period.
And then Ric Flair came in. It was a weird period, man. That was a weird period. And the fact that the main event in 92, WrestleMania in 92, was not Hogan Flair.
Oh, that's right.
It did not happen. At the end of the day, we got a much better match between Savage and Flair, but it wasn't. Right. It wasn't what it was.
That was the couch right now.
Do you remember when Reed Flair won the WWE title?
Thank everyone for watching the Nitro.
I mean, you want to? It's insane. So let's talk about this card. Are you excited about the pay-per-view that's coming up? This 4-way?
Let's go to Payback.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, no. Can I say that?
You're not? I'm pretty excited about it.
Explain to me why you're excited about each match. Go ahead.
Okay, let me go down the card. Do you have it?
Yeah, I have the card.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, so I'm supposed to have it off, you mean?
Yeah. Here, I have it here.
Okay, well, tell me about it.
Well, there's only 2 matches announced: Rusev and Cena and I Quit match, which I'm not really excited for. But the main event looks great. Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, Randy Orton.
4-way. That
Four-way.
means the thing I hate about a 4-way is that anyone can get pinned at any time and then they win the belt, not the true champion, which I hate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. But do you know what we're gonna get? We're gonna get like a split reunion. Super.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I should have gone.
Yeah, you should have gone.
So what other matches though do you think are they going to throw at us? Like
I don't know.
New Day versus
Cesaro and Kid.
Cesaro and Kid. Okay.
We'll probably get
Okay,
that.
I like that. Who's Dolph Ziggler fighting?
Dolph
One of the
and Dolph and Sheamus. It could be Dolph and it could be a lot of people.
See, but you don't care. There's no. This is awful that we're 10 days away, and those are the only 2 storylines that are really.
Yeah,
legitimate.
that says something, right? I mean, I don't know if SmackDown they set up more angles, but
do people watch SmackDown? Is it terrible for me to say?
no, it's actually pretty decent. It's not awful.
I don't get excited.
It's not
for
awful. We're 10 days away from the pay-per-view. Lots happening. What do you like right now? You tell me what you're watching.
Well, no. If I had to go through, I watch Raw. I think it's important to watch. Now that the network is finally doing things, on Tuesday I'd probably watch the network stuff. Wednesday NXT, Thursday network stuff over SmackDown, and then Friday is TNA and New Japan.
So you're watching all of that.
I mean, it's DVR.
DVR, yeah. It's a lot of wrestling. It's a lot of wrestling.
But I mean,
yeah.
it's as I know that you can put wrestling on the background while you're doing work because you don't really need a lot.
Are you watching TNA?
Of course. TNA is so good.
Do you remember? So Josh came up a couple months ago and we got loaded and we started watching TNA and we watched, what did we watch? We watched Rumble.
But they had, Rumble. Yeah.
Yeah, we watched Rumble and we had people over and everybody was like drinking and like having a good time. And we're like, let's put on TNA. And all we did was laugh.
Because it was where they had the cases, right? And it told you if you were fired.
That awful case match where you got fired if you picked the case.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
It's so bad. It's great. I mean,
right now the product has gotten a lot better. It's actually good to watch. You should, because the storylines are actually probably the best that they've been in a long time. It's actually pretty decent wrestling. But on that night, it was actually hysterical to watch it. Yeah. All right, we got an interview coming up, Josh. I know you're excited for this.
Yes,
Larry Legend from Ring of Honor. He's going to be coming on. We're going to be talking about his overall career and how he got started in professional wrestling. He's a ring announcer for. He does a lot of stuff, but right now he's working behind the scenes at Ring of Honor. Really interesting guy. A guy that he's based on his uniqueness and his ability to kind of stand out. He's really made a name for himself throughout the independents and with Ring of Honor. We're going to talk to him. And I'm looking forward to this, Josh. How about you?
I'm really looking forward to it. He's the most up and coming ring announcer there is in the business, in my opinion.
Yeah. We're going to take a little break. We'll be back with Larry Legend. Stay tuned. And restart the recording. And we'll begin in 3, 2, and 1. And we're back, everybody. You're watching Mat Men live on the GFQ Network, exclusively available on iTunes, on Stitcher, everywhere podcasts are available. I'm joined by Josh. I don't know if you guys saw this. Josh is joining me. How you doing, Josh?
You know what, Andrew? It's wonderful to be here again. Rich, I thank you for taking a leave of absence so I can keep the seat warm. But it's great to be here and talk some wrestling with you.
Yeah, we spoke a lot of wrestling in the first half of the show, and now we have our guest. We're going to be talking about, he's a really interesting guy, and he's a guy that you connected me with because he's into technology. You've known him for a couple of years, and you tweeted me and said, hey, why don't you contact Larry Legend, because I think he'd be a great guest. And I think this is a great time because War of the Worlds 2015 is coming up in 5 days. This is a big event, and it's a great time to bring Larry on. Hey, Larry, what's going on?
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Big time for you guys over at ROH, huh?
Yeah, I mean, we're cooking on all cylinders. War of the Worlds, like you just mentioned, 5 days away. It's a huge doubleheader at the world's famous ECW Arena, 2300 Arena in South Philadelphia. So we are ready and just ready to get it underway. And then 1 day break, and then we're on to Toronto for another huge doubleheader, Global Wars, right after War of the Worlds. So things have been kind of hectic around here, but we keep a cool head, and we're just looking forward to getting there.
I'm imagining it's going to be crazy busy. So I want to talk to you about ROH because I've been following him since, the creation of ROH, and it's great to see the positive buzz that's still around this organization, 13 years later, where it's rarely negative. It's generally positive. In-ring of, quality is the best that it could possibly be. And I want to talk about that. But before that, I want to talk about you because you're really interesting. You are a ring announcer, not a pro wrestling ring announcer, but a ring announcer. You do mixed martial arts. You do pro wrestling. Talk to me about how you got into the ring announcing, I guess, into pro wrestling as a ring announcer.
Well, I'd say probably the figures, the Hasbro figures that you have right behind you are what really started me having a passion for ring announcing, because I had many figures growing up. And, with my figures, it wouldn't be like the match just started and they'd be like wrestling in the ring. I would always, have them walk down the aisle and really imitate Howard Finkel with the coming down the aisle. And if you remember the Hasbro figures, they had those cutouts, those cardboard cutouts on the back that would say Big Boss Man, 330 pounds, Department of Corrections, Cobb County, Georgia. And I literally, when I was a kid playing with my figures, everything would start with a grand announcement for whichever wrestler. And then eventually I learned how to dub. Like I would play Royal Rumble, the WWF Royal Rumble for the Super Nintendo, and I would use my Talk Boy from Home Alone, and I would like record the MIDI version of Macho Man's theme, from the TV. And then when I would be doing his intro with him, the little figure going down to the ring, I'd be playing the music and just really doing my whole production there. But I would say that that's what really got me passionate about. Like not just the physicality of wrestling and the good guy versus exactly, all of the Gorilla Monsoons and the Bobby Heenans, just those signature voices that would welcome you every time that you'd be watching wrestling. I think that that's really what kind of led me to that path. Also, I was a fat kid, I was a pretty heavier kid, and I could clearly see that these wrestlers were athletes and working out and everything. So, around that time where you really want to get involved, I was like, I don't think I have the discipline for, working out.
And unfortunately for us, because I think, how old are you? You're around my age. I'm 31.
I'm 33. I got you by 2. Yeah.
Okay. So we're around the same age. When you're watching these guys, the reality of you ever becoming a Hulk Hogan or an Ultimate Warrior, really, it's unthinkable that you could ever achieve that level of bodybuilding. I mean, it's like a crazy mythical style. They're Greek gods. Essentially just fighting around. It's really funny you brought that up about the ring announcing while you had the toys, because I did the same exact thing, and Ted DiBiase was always the ring announcer for me. So Ted DiBiase would be in the ring, and then I would set up. It was weird. I would have Ric Flair, the old, the Ric Flair figure I have behind me.
Sure,
Ric Flair would be the Vince McMahon. And I would have like somebody else. I think as like Gorilla Monsoon, maybe I would have like a John Tenta as a Gorilla Monsoon next to him. And I would do the Vince McMahon voice as a kid. And my mother would take the toys away because she couldn't tolerate it. I mean, it was just me doing Howard Finkel and Vince McMahon as like a 5-year-old. And it can't really sound that great.
Remember what Vince was like back in those days. He was like, everything was like, oh my God.
What a maneuver.
Yeah, right? So I can imagine how that was grating on your mom's ears hearing you play. But I guess a lot of it really comes from the imagination with the toys. I at my desk at ROH right now, I have Hasbro figures hanging up, and I have like a little mini ring set up on my desk. And I'm just so thankful that I can have a job all these years later where it's acceptable to have a whole bunch of wrestling action figures on my desk. When people come in.
I mean, forget about the toys, but you are in the profession. You are in professional wrestling, and this is something that, as a kid you think about, you know, and you actually live, you know, something, you're doing something that you enjoy, and you're doing something that uh you just you loved as a child, and even as an adult, you're involved in something you really like. What was it? How did you get into professional wrestling in that sense? How did you go from, okay, this is something I really like, I'm playing with the toys, to, okay, I'm watching it on TV, to, okay, maybe this is something I want to get involved with?
Sure. Well, I did study acting at New York University from '99 until about 2001, right before the planes got slammed into the towers. I was studying to be an actor in New York, and that's also how I ended up living in New York for so many years. I eventually dropped out of school because it was way too expensive, and also I didn't really feel comfortable living there after the terrorist attacks. So after dropping out of school, I still wanted to do something or pursue something that was like based around my voice and just using my voice, whether it be like voice acting or, narrating children's books or something.
That's funny you say that, Larry. So the first time I ever heard you was basically just through your voice, and I was like, that guy's voice is amazing. So that leads me to another question: is that do you have like vocal coaches? Is this just a natural ability? Like, can you explain about the voice?
Sure. Well, while I did like pretty much 2 years of NYU, freshman year and then into my sophomore year. And then after that, I went to NYU at 99, undergrad at 99. And yeah, it was like vocal intensive, just, doing all of the vocal exercises and learning how to, speak with your body, if that makes any sense,
Right.
so that, if you're doing something like the role of an announcer, that's got to come from the chest as much as it's coming from your belly. So yeah, I did a lot of vocal training for about 2 years straight with some master facilitators at New York University. And I just held on to a lot of the things that I learned while I was there. Even though I was only there for 2 years, I just absorbed all of the kind of acting and presentational and speaking skills that I learned there. And I've been able to apply that not just in wrestling, but like for ROH right now, I do a lot of like customer service over the phone,
Oh,
and
right.
it's a lot of kind of with your voice, just comforting people who are wondering where their tickets are or who's going to be announced for the meet and greet. So I've been able to kind of use my voice as a weapon. With a lot of training from some really, really great facilitators at New York University.
What
So
was
yeah,
your what was your first gig in pro wrestling? How did that come about?
so post NYU, after I dropped out, I moved back to Maryland, and like I said, I wanted to do something with my voice. And one night, during one of the commercial breaks of Monday Night Raw, an ad ran for a local wrestling school called Bone Breakers. And
Oh, yeah.
after dropping out of NYU, I moved back to Baltimore, kind of to save money to move back. It was essentially was the deal. I lied to my mom and said I want to save money to go back to school, but really I just wanted to save money to go back to New York. But this Bone Breakers ad came on during Raw, and I was like, well, I wonder if I can go down there and maybe find out if there's a way I could help out. Like, just pretty much throw myself on the mercy of these guys and say, hey, I would love to help out with this, MCW and
Were
this
you
training school that you have.
were you kind of smart to the business at that point? Did you know that? I mean, were you going to, I guess, the wrestling forums and the websites? I mean, were you obviously you knew what was happening, but did you know like the inside workings of everything that was happening at that point?
Not at that point, but I was savvy enough to realize that, this, like, because they also used to run ads for MCW shows. They used to run ads for Maryland Championship Wrestling shows, and then they would run ads for the Bone Breakers Wrestling Academy. And I was savvy enough to figure out that these two things were like working in conjunction. So I was able to position myself when I first went there. I was like, I just told them straight up, I can tell that, you have this school, and then in between enrolling students, you have these shows. So I want to learn more about that business because I know that the money doesn't just come from anywhere to run shows and to bring people like Jerry the King Lawler in. So I want to learn about what it takes to run a successful wrestling business, and if that means, helping out here at the school, like I would love to start by doing that. And they came to an agreement. They had me pay the tuition for like if I was going to be a referee or a manager, because essentially they said, yeah, you can help out, but through us, you're going to make connections that are going to last you a lifetime. So essentially you got to pay to play. So they charged me the tuition to be a referee.
To learn how to be a referee.
Yeah, if I were learning to be a referee, they charged me that tuition, which was like $750 down in monthly installments of $150 a month, and I think the total was like $1,500. And I did it, and once I got in there, they could tell that I was not, like just wanting to hang around with wrestlers or like wanting to touch Jerry Lawler when they booked him or anything like that.
Which that happens a lot, I'm guessing, with a lot of these schools where it's just guys that either A, want to be a wrestler but don't understand what it is to be a wrestler. They see what's on TV and they're kind of glorifying that. Or two, guys that just want to be around the guys.
Right. And I think I really proved myself because when they would bring in, names like Eddie Guerrero or the Headbangers, people that, I grew up watching. And I mean, at the time that they bought Eddie Guerrero in, he had just been like kind of released, but with the expectation that he'd be bought back after he got himself clean. We're talking like around 2002, I believe.
Yeah, it was like a 6-month window. Yeah.
Right. And, I just conducted myself as professionally around him. The first thing that they really had me do at the shows was I used to get all of the guys to sign off on a waiver. And it was a waiver that basically said, after this event's over, we can use your likeness again for our DVDs and tapes. And you won't, sue us or ask for any more compensation than what you're getting tonight. It also had verbiage in there about, if you get injured, you won't sue us, and
that's a tough job.
I had to take. Well, it is. And I used to have to go and, go to Eddie Guerrero, the SATs, the Backseat Boys, and essentially just get every single person in the locker room to sign off on this paperwork. And I would normally have Mark the Shark Schrader, who was the, I guess you could call him the money of MCW. He'd have the envelopes and he'd be standing right behind me and essentially pay the guys
as soon as they sign it.
As soon as they sign. Yeah.
Nice.
So that was my role, and eventually the ring announcer for MCW, he joined the police academy, and he wasn't going to be able to fulfill his obligations as much, so he essentially gracefully bowed out. And I'll never forget when one day the owner of MCW at the time, still owner of MCW, Corporal Punishment Dan McDevitt said, Larry, Jeff. In regards to Jeff Jones, who was one of the office administrators of MCW at the time, he says, Jeff thinks you'd make a pretty good ring announcer. He says, you had a pretty good voice. And he said, would you like to do that if we offered it to you? And I remember Ebonics was really big at the time, and I responded with, would I? This is perfect. I get to use my voice and get a little bit further immersed into, MCW. And this is about 6 months after I had originally started paying to help out.
You essentially got hired by the place that you were paying, which that's a great story. To me, the ring announcer is, the Howard Finkles come to mind, right? You think of a ring announcer. I know Lillian Garcia's been there forever, Tony Schemmel, but you talk about a ring announcer and you think two things: Michael Buffer and Howard Finkel. To me, those are the two ring announcers that I think of. But you stand out. To when we put out on Twitter, everybody knew who you were because of your sound and your look. And
he's got a great look.
Yeah, it's a great look. And
thanks, guys.
No, it is. But you stand out to people, even if people are not really familiar with, who's the ring announcer for Ring of Honor, or who's doing CZW or MCW. If they hear your voice, they know exactly who you are. And I think that helps with the overall product, with brand recognition to anybody that is hiring you as a ring announcer.
Exactly, it's that familiarity. Just like I said when I was mentioning, the comforting, Gorilla Monsoon welcoming you to every pay-per-view, or Howard Finkel kicking off, whatever live event you're going to, or Tony Chimmel, or whoever it is. It's that that recognizability of that voice that people want to continue to buy. So I want to stand out, but it's a tough thing because you don't want to overshadow anyone. In particular, a lot of times I have a team. I have a team of other announcers that are doing similar things to me. And, a lot of the times I get, people chanting Larry, 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 but, it's not really about that at all, so it's funny. I rarely ever announce my own name. I very rarely will say, and ladies and gentlemen, I am your ring announcer, Larry Legend. I will very rarely do that because I just feel that I should be invisible, even though I do stand out, and it's not important for them to really know who I am. And if they really want to find out, they'll approach me and ask. And a lot of the times that does happen.
So
it's tough. Tough.
It's really tough. Have you at any point did it go through your mind that maybe I could get in the ring and be a wrestler?
Well, I started out in the ring announcing as a heel ring announcer. I was a heel. So the end of that story of them asking me if I think that I could do the ring announcing was then it turned into, well, maybe we could have Larry since he's black, and we have a predominantly kind of white audience.
Right.
MCW at the time, we're talking 99 through 2002. They were like, well, maybe we could have him be a heel kind of racist ring announcer that really does not appreciate the fact that he's in front of, all of these people, for lack of a better term, of Glen Burnie, So I kind of was like, sure, I'll do that, nervously,
At that point, I'm sure you're just happy that you got this gig. I mean, you're like, okay, whatever you want to do, let's do it.
I was pretty much willing to do anything to get up there and to shine, within reason. And I went out there and I insulted the crowd. I would always give like a rousing ovation for the bad guys, the villains, and then and his opponent, Mike Quackenbush, or something like that, like the good guy, like not even really give him a good heave ho. So I really can't. If you guys, then we get 5 minutes alone in the ring with your favorite ring announcer, like he would be saying, like the good guys would be saying this to the heels. We get 5 minutes alone in the ring with your favorite ring announcer, Larry Kennedy Phillips. And then it's like, what? The crowd goes crazy. Oh, he's going to beat Larry. They're going to beat Larry, So it didn't cross my mind originally. But eventually I got to the point where I was actually training at Bone Breakers, not just being an office administrator / ring announcer, but I was actually, on whatever it was, Wednesdays and Thursdays, I think, going into the ring and doing the Mexican rolls and the drop downs and, step overs and all of that stuff. So, didn't cross my mind at first, but eventually, how things go. And then eventually I did start getting involved physically in some MCW events.
Now, Larry, you should also talk only just. He carried a pad, and during the matches he is either vining, Instagramming, I mean, you name it, taking photos, Facebooking. He'll talk about it going on. So you could be at home and following the matches by just following Larry.
Yeah, and I saw that, but you know what the great thing is? You don't do like spoilers or anything. You're like putting like you're posting You're posting like cool spots that'll happen throughout a match, and it really, I think it really helps with the product when you're watching it.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you brought that up, Colm. A funny story, when I did my first Ring of Honor show, and I'm actually coming up on the anniversary. The first Ring of Honor show I did was May 11th, 2013. But when I did my first Ring of Honor show, I was at the production meeting in the back, and I had my iPad and I was taking notes. And I'm sitting with everyone and we're talking about things, and I said, oh, and by the way, I'm going to use this to read all of the announcements off of throughout the night, like any sort of announcement, I'm going to read it off of the iPad. And I remember Kevin Kelly, who I was just meeting for the first time, was like, well, why are you going to do that? Don't you have any cards? Was kind of like his response. And this is the first time that I'm ever meeting him. And I said, well, I do, but, with this, I can kind of, tweet out how great of a time we're having and maybe get some images of, the wrestlers doing their thing in the ring. And his eyebrows kind of raised like, that's a pretty good idea, and, he was all for it. And I feel like that he could have easily vetoed that and been like, well, that's going to be a distraction. Use some traditional cards. And, I did. But you see, again, and it's another dilly of a pickle. So yeah, I want to be out there capturing things, but at the same time, in the role of a ring announcer, I also want to kind of be really attentive, to the referee. That's
True.
really, your role. You got to be looking for the referee to ensure that that was a 2 count. That was a 2 count. And, the iPad can be just as much of a distraction. And again, with sort of walking that fine line of not wanting to take away from what's going on by what I'm doing, when what I'm really supposed to be doing is just announcing, really being a big voice. It kind of there were a couple times I got some negative feedback about it.
Really?
Yeah, like
From fans or from people working there.
I got some. Every once in a while, I'll get a tweet even at a show nowadays that'll say, "Get off your iPad."
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So.
Or are you paying attention? I really don't feel that some people know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
I think
you're just
too advanced. They don't get it.
Obviously, you're not playing Candy Crush.
Yeah.
Well, I do play a little Words with Friends, sometimes ringside. But that's the turn-based game that you don't really need to, be paying attention to as much. But no. I remember at one point a referee said to me, I'm looking for you out there, brother. I'm looking for you to let you know that was 2. And I look over and you're like typing away on your iPad, and I'm like, well, this guy's not even helping me. So from fans and maybe from other players, I've gotten some feedback that the iPad is a little bit of a distraction. So I try to be a little bit more judicious about it now, and also judicious about which companies I utilize it with.
So you've announced, I mean, we're talking about the big companies that some of our viewers know. CZW, obviously, you've worked with them. Ring of Honor, MCW, which I recently discovered MCW through Coleman and Stevie, because I know Stevie was there last year, and I really got turned on to some of the stuff that they're doing over there. From working from promotion to promotion, and you brought this up saying you'll utilize it depending on where you're working. What are some of the differences that you see depending on the promotions that you're working for at the time? Because they all have their own individual feel. Obviously, CZW has a very distinct, viewership, and the style of wrestling is very specific to them. And Ring of Honor, same exact thing too. It's a very specific style of wrestling. So what are some differences, and how do you change it depending on who you're working for?
Well, that's a great question. First of all, thank you for asking that. Organization, like really with CZW and MCW and Ring of Honor, there are point people all over the place. And finding the lineup, like those companies that I just mentioned, the lineup, in regards to the flow of the show, that's all digitally, given to me beforehand, and it's very streamlined, and it's a real production, if that makes any sense. Now, I'll sometimes do sort of, not as established, independent wrestling promotions where, doors open at 5:30. And the bell's supposed to be at 6:30, and it's 8:00 and we haven't even had a posted lineup, or all the talent hasn't gotten there. So really, the standard bearer for me, and also a way that I can tell whether, how much I can play around with the iPad and do my little Larry Legend thing, is based on the organization. When you get there, who's the point person, what's going on, foods being sold, all of that, sort of those movable pieces that add to the overall production. I do shows like CZW, ROH, and MCW, and those are shows that I know what's going on. I know that I'm being taken care of. I mean, even in regards to at the end of the night, believe it or not, there's still sort of kind of that whole, oh, the house was down, kid. We're not going to be able to pay you everything that we said we paid you.
And that's a reality. That still happens. I mean, you hear those stories, but that still goes on where you don't know if you're getting paid that much, whatever the promise was.
Or they'll get you by saying, like, if we do good on the house, we'll give what you ask for. But if not, we're only going to be able to give you this. And I will say, just for everyone out there, that Jack Sabbath of the wrestling universe and ICW is a very stand-up promoter who, if he says he's going to get you your money, if he can't give it all to you on the night, he will get it to you. I can attest to that. And thank you, Jack, for a little bit earlier, if you happen to hear this, for doing right by me.
Jack is literally down the block from me.
Oh, yeah?
The wrestling universe is like a couple blocks up from me right now.
Yeah, well, you know what? I've been there before to film some sort of bumpers for ICW many years ago to the Wrestling Universe in Queens. And, I just did a show for ICW on Friday in New York because I had a kickboxing show on Sunday. So when I can get sort of a double shot, I'll travel for that because the money kind of evens out. And, just like I said, maybe the house wasn't as great for ICW on Friday night, but Jack was a man of his word. And I really appreciate stand-up promoters like him. And I'll be back, to help host his show again, knowing that he's a real stand-up guy.
I used to go see him when they were located on Springfield Boulevard in Queens, where the Wrestling Universe originally was. And then they just moved it even closer to me now. But I used to go and get like all the old IWA death matches from there. And I mean, this is when wrestling was super hot, that place was packed out every single day when I would go in and like get a tape. It was just like a cassette of, some random match from Japan or something. But I just went back. There was a signing there. The Blue World Order was there. So I went to go visit Stevie there, and he recognized me. He's like, "Oh, I haven't seen you in like 15, 20 years almost." So it's like, yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. I'm starting to get that way. Jack's old school. He's been doing it for many years. And, I have as well. And now, you start to remember maybe some faces that were impactful when you weren't, when you were just coming up, that are still around. You get to see I've seen a lot of kids mature, become grown men right in front of, and grown women in some regards, right in front of my eyes, as I've been doing this for like 13 years. So, yeah, it's really special, the type of position that individuals like myself and Jack are in, to be a lot more hands-on with the fans, I feel like, than because I do merch for ROH, but that's my primary position as a full-time employee, as merchandise coordinator, so I get to really touch the fans a lot of the times at the show. And, really have memorable moments that'll last a lifetime, I feel like, based on whatever town or experience is going on with someone, like I said, doing customer service and tickets and finding someone a chair or making things right. You get to have those moments that'll last a lifetime and people will remember. Even more than like a great match, I've seen a bunch of great matches. So I might not be able to tell you like how great Matt Hardy versus Luke Hawx was at MCW last year, but seeing a kid that was like 7 when I first started, who's now like 14, come up to me and be like, "Larry, hey, do you remember?" And I'm like, "Of course I remember. How are you?"
That's
so
great.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, 2 nights. ROH, War of the Worlds, Philadelphia, PA. It's also New Japan is going to be there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Andrew, a huge New Japan fan.
I am, yeah. I am.
So
I'm a huge fan.
what should we be looking for mostly, or what matches are they spotlighting for us?
Well, at this point, I'll throw myself under the bus. There's so much going on right now that I don't want to get any of the matches mixed up that are announced for Global Wars and the TV taping as opposed to the pay-per-view. But, I'll tell you this much. From a customer service standpoint, I have gotten so many emails and so many calls in regards to Shinsuke Nakamura and what he'll be doing and if he'll be available for autographs and, just people politely probing in the wrestling way about, if he's even going to be there. So I'm looking forward mostly to seeing him. Also, the legendary Jushin Thunder Liger. Anytime that you get to see Liger in the States and doing his thing, his time at this point is probably limited, in ring actively. So I'm definitely looking forward to him. we got the battle of, and this is not to divulge too much, but kind of like the battles of the bookers, as we got ROH's Delirious versus Gato.
Gato,
which
yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. As a matter of fact, that one popped off the.
But
the
you know what
page
though?
to me.
That is such a unique concept to have, and you will never see that happen anywhere else, where you're going to have two bookers, wrestling each other from two separate organizations. I can't ever envision that ever happening anywhere else, and that just shows you that, Ring of Honor, like I was saying, is so unique to its style, and its following is very unique, and it kind of goes based on that old school ECW dedicated following that shows up to your shows, but it's matured far beyond that. I mean, when they started out, I know a lot of people from ECW were involved originally, but it's manifested into its own thing, and the fact that you're having this New Japan versus Ring of Honor thing happening, you're never going to see that anywhere else, really. Considering how hot Ring of Honor is and how hot New Japan is at this point, I mean, you have the Briscoes, you have AJ Styles, you have he's my favorite wrestler right now, just because he's so out there, it's so different to see.
Yeah.
You're going to have the Young Bucks. You're going to have all these people on this card. This is a loaded card.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really excited about it. I just was watching a video that Cedric Alexander just put out. I think it just got released on ROH's YouTube, where he's talking about how he missed out because of a shoulder injury on fighting Rainmaker Okada last year, and he gets that match this year, and just how ready he is to win. So again, as we get closer and closer to the events, amongst a lot of other things that I have to look forward to, or actually kind of not look forward to so much with travel and everything, I'm really getting ready, to support these guys. I'm not going to be able to watch any of it because I'm going to be just moving all around and doing so many other things. But it's going to be a spectacular, and it's 4 shows now, so that just goes to show how successful, we were, and how pleased everyone was with last year's offerings in New York and Toronto, that we're doing, double the fun this year, and getting twice as much action out of the New Japan stars while we have them in these dream matches, these dream matches.
I mean, you guys, it's a lot of moving around. You guys are in Philly, May 12th and 13th, and then you guys you're going up to the Ted Reeve Arena in Toronto, in Canada.
Well, that's a great venue.
That's a great venue, absolutely. Yeah. On May 15th, that Friday.
Yeah.
And that card is unbelievable too. I mean, Jay Lethal versus Nato. I mean, just to even think about that match is going to take place. It's phenomenal. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's a great thing. How does it travel when these events happen? How hard is the travel on you and everybody else in that organization? Because there's a lot of moving happening. I think he froze for a second there.
The travel's hard, sir.
I mean, but can you imagine though, Josh? Can you imagine having to move around that much?
But they at least have a schedule that they can have families and lives outside of just traveling, because they're able to do crazier moves, right?
Yeah, well, remember, it's not the WWE, and they're given more freedom, obviously, with what they could do.
I love them.
And the fact that these guys are, these shows mean something to them. For somebody else, it may not mean as much. You're talking about 4 shows, but these 4 shows are make or break for your pay-per-view business. For next year's business, if next year people are going to sign up and show up and attend your shows, we see what happens when something is so negative. The internet has really taken to New Japan and Ring of Honor over the last couple of years. I mean, you're on Reddit all the time, and
all the time,
and you see
it dominates the news.
It really is. Yeah, absolutely, and it's a different way. Go ahead.
But sorry to cut you off. They're also doing like more things that are like current. Like they're having the wrestlers on Reddit. They're doing more with the social media and they're letting the wrestlers make their own YouTube shows. They're not as produced,
Yeah, it's kind of that. It's the fact that it's being embraced now, rather than it being looking frowned upon. You look at these guys and they would call them marks. Right. Or you go in and you're reading, what's happening. You're reading the dirt sheets. But now it's a very different business. And rather than going to, a news site. You're going to Reddit where it's a community more than
Right.
anything else. And that really helps with promoting these products. I think we almost have Larry back on. Hey, Larry, you back?
I'm back. Can you hear me and see me
I
better?
can. There
Sorry
you go.
about that. The last thing I heard from you was Jay Lethal. You were saying we also, you were mentioning Jay Lethal's match at Global Wars, and then it just kept intermittently going in and out. And I was thinking it would reconnect and we'd be fine, but nothing doing. So I moved my position.
No problem. No, I was saying that you're going to see a card where Jay Lethal and NATO are going to go up against each other. I mean, these are dream cards for the wrestling fan, the hardcore fan. When it comes to this style of quality matches. I want to talk to you about Ring of Honor a little bit. I know you got to go. We had a time frame here, but the growth of Ring of Honor over the last, I want to say, year, as far as TV goes, quality goes. A lot of people have been hard on the production, but I have to tell you, I've watched the last couple tapings. I watched a show, I want to say a couple months ago, and I think the card had AJ Styles and Matt Sydal on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked better than anything else that I've seen recently. I mean, it just looked stellar. The lighting was done well. The crowd was lit. I mean, it was phenomenal. It's tremendous growth. But for people who don't understand, it's a very difficult thing to do that consistently when you have a budget, when you're not the WWE and you have this abundant everywhere we go.
Sure. You have to, approach everything, as professionally as possible, when you're facing criticism. But I can say, because I work in the actual studio where all of our cameramen and editors and production people work, they're the most dedicated team of about 7 to 8 individuals that make this happen consistently. And just the numbers alone just can, sort of shed a little light on how hard it is. They're the first ones there, and they're the last ones to leave.
Right.
And, they really, the credits don't ever roll at the end of our show, showing you, and even if they do, people aren't going to be watching that. And that's why I think it's so awesome that Kevin Kelly and Steve Corino, will very often their commentary say the actual names of the cameramen and the editors and the sound guys, so you can know that these people are, they're so critical to us, even having the microphone that you can hear Steve Corino talking out of, so it's you don't hear them say things like that. Like, I think for the first time in a long time, I heard, a referee's name acknowledged on WWE TV, because they've gotten away from, acknowledging these sort of, invisible components to the show. But that's what makes us so real is, there's a Chris Resnick, there's a Mark Brown, there's a Mike Z that are setting all this stuff up and making sure that you even have a show to enjoy. So, give credit where credit's due. And like I said, it's a very, very small team that executes, in my estimation, flawlessly with the time that we have to get this thing done. My phone just said 10 seconds. 10% left. I just want to.
All right,
sure. We're gonna wrap it up. No, you're absolutely right. It really is tremendous. By the way, that jib shot you guys do at Ring of Honor, where it kind of pans, that is one of the most unique shots that I've seen, and that's how. Right. I forgot who I was speaking to. He actually. He's involved in the wrestling business. And he said, the problem is a lot of companies look at the WWE and that's what they try to do. But the ones that will stand out, like the Lucha Undergrounds and the Ring of Honors, is the fact that you are not copying what is happening on the WWE television, because that is their own entity. They are a very specific product for a specific type of person, and they're trying to cover all their grounds. When you are doing that, it's very difficult to replicate that. With Ring of Honor, when you watch Ring of Honor, you're watching something different. When you're watching, even Lucha Underground, you're watching something very different. So, the fact that, and listen, we do production here. We don't do it on the scale of a live television show, professional wrestling show, but it is a nightmare to make sure everything works properly. And the fact that now you're involving moving everything to an arena that you don't know what the situation is going to be. You don't know if you could suspend your lighting. Then you have to deal with the pay-per-view. If the internet is going to hold up, how many people are ordering. It's a lot that goes into this. And the fact that you guys are pulling it off is tremendous.
Well, I gotta say, these guys, the team that we have right now, is super dedicated. But I would really be remiss if I didn't mention, the foundation that really was laid forth. 13 years is not anything to laugh at, for a company to be going and to have gained the global recognition, that Ring of Honor has gained over these years. So there was a pretty stellar foundation laid for what it is that we are accomplishing, and the level of dedication that you really have to have before you can really get involved. And I think that, my path of, starting out with MCW, being an administrative assistant, which also included setting up the ring and the chairs and the barricades and all of that stuff, is really prepared me for even the weekend that I have ahead of me with the week I have ahead of me with Philly, One Break, Toronto. It's going to be really hard, but I'm ready and we're ready.
Nice.
And I really have to, call out Ring of Honor for really, over the years, the Kerry Silken days, the Gabe days, laying a really great foundation for us to be thriving to this day. So.
Yeah, it's tremendous.
Yeah.
I know you got to go. Your battery is dying. Hey, by the way, did I hear this correct? You used to work at the Gap?
Oh, nope. Close. Old Navy.
Old Navy.
So,
Old Navy.
I mean, it's the same difference. Old
Same
Navy.
difference.
That was my first job. Well, first job was I was a librarian at NYU. That was my work study job, and then I did Old Navy, and then I did Starbucks, and then I did Apple. So that's my.
You covered all your grounds. All
all
your West Coast, hip companies you worked at.
Exactly.
No, because my first job was at the Gap. So when I saw it, I'm like, another Gap guy,
Indeed. And, all of those places, the entire time that I was working at them, I was also sort of moonlighting as a pro wrestling ring announcer. So
Amazing.
It was like, work at Old Navy, get off at 7, go to Bone Breaker School, fold shirts, and get the merchandise ready for our next live event. Or, work at Starbucks, make sure you have Saturday off, go to CZW. It was all moonlighting as a pro wrestling ring announcer and being involved in some regard. So.
That's excellent.
I can't wait till we're old and I go, look, there he is.
Yeah.
Right there. Tell my son, I know that guy on TV.
Larry, it was so good having you on. Larry Legend, you have a Tumblr page. People can follow you on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle?
It is BLKLKP, and the name is just Larry Mercer ROH. Larry Mercer ROH.
You can follow him there. A lot of stuff happening. Larry, I'd love to get you on again here.
Can I just say, the next time that I come on, I would like to talk about The Price is Right, and I would also like I want your viewers to YouTube that Larry Legend on The Price is Right.
I actually just watched that last night.
Yeah, that was a moment that, I mean, come on,
How do you
whole
know?
show.
I mean, as any '80s kid would be, that's a dream. Pro wrestling and The Price is Right. You're living the American dream here.
I think that. Yeah, and I'm in good company with Brian Kendrick and the late great Ox Baker also being contestants on The Price is Right. I think I'm the only one who won. Yeah, I think I'm the only one who won. Yeah, who won really big out of all of those guys. I think Ox won his first thing, but I don't think he won the whole showcase and everything like I did.
Wow. That's so funny. Larry, thanks a lot for coming on, man. It was great.
Thank you so much. With 4% left in my battery, I really appreciate this, guys, and I'd love to come on again.
Absolutely.
All right. See you, Larry.
See you, Larry.
Thanks, Colm. See ya. Bye.
Larry Legend, everybody. That was great. It was really great to hear from him. That was a good booking, Colm.
How much you think? Thank you. I'm Booker now.
Great dude.
How much you think he won on Price is Right? You want to take a guess?
No, I don't know. What did he win?
I think upwards of $27K.
Did he? Because I saw the part that he won the first round. I didn't see the second round. I got to watch that part.
Right.
All right, guys. We're gonna be right back after this. We're gonna wrap up the show right after this. Stay tuned. In 3, 2, and 1, and we're back, everybody. That was great to talk to Larry.
Oh, it was so much fun.
You messed me up. You told me that he worked at the Gap, but it was Old Navy. Now I look like a
the
fool.
internet, Wikipedia told me that. It's
now
close
I
enough.
look like a fool. It's interesting to see, he was actually at work. He was at Ring of Honor. He was in their offices and he was working while he did this interview. And a lot of promise with that company. And I hope they continue, just growing beyond this, because this New Japan thing that they're doing, the invasion, not the global wars.
Oh, here we go.
I had to throw in the word invasion. The global wars is great. They have a pay-per-view coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm going to be watching it. I'm going to be very excited for that. Josh, I want to thank you for joining me, subbing in for Rich. Freebird rules here on the GFQ Network on Matt Men.
That's right.
You're the third guy here.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Culmination.
Josh is on Twitter at Culmination. You can follow me at Andrew Zarian at GFQ Network, or everywhere podcasts are available. A little different of a show this week. Next week, Rich will be back. We're going to be doing our prediction show for Payback and everything else that happened throughout the week. And that's it, guys. We'll see you all next week. Take care. I'm going to be 31.
Well, happy birthday, Mr. President.
Happy birthday, Mr. President. I have this cable taped to my neck. There we go. Got 3. There we go. Okay. Did I tweet this? I did tweet it. I mean, 2 seconds, Paul.
That's okay. I'm still
Okay.
behind here.
Thurrott.com/posts. Little tip to viewers. I love going to /posts because it changes the way that the site works for Thurrott.com.
Yep.
That's how I view it.
Yep, it does.
And disable ad blocker on Thurrott.com.
All right, let's see.
Okay. Close that. It's so weird to do it on Thursdays. Like, we're all off.
I'm off. I just think it could be any day.
I have no idea how you're like functioning right now after all the traveling you've done. Like, I don't know how you just haven't given up in general for like the week and just locked yourself in your room.
Sure. It's okay. Honestly, it's okay. It's just weird. I didn't feel like I went to Chicago, you know. I mean, I was there. Wait, what? I need to request access on that Google Drive thing for some reason.
Oh, wait a minute. Did I send it to Thurrott at Gmail? I may have. Sorry.
It's okay.
Let me do Thurrott.
Oh, God. How many times can
There
I
we
make
go.
the same mistake? Every time.
Okay. I sent it to the other one.
Man, I'm losing it.
Hey, chat room.
Hey.
You're
you.
never in the chat, right?
No, it would be too distracting for me. Wait,
It's
what's
everywhere.
this?
The chat room is everywhere. I see it. I see it on like every screen.
Did I forget a bill? Please tell me I did not.
So what's the deal with that T-shirt? Everybody's talking about a T-shirt.
Joe Belfiere's t-shirt.
Yeah. What's the story with that?
It was the Windows flag with binary code in it.
Oh,
Yeah.
and then like 9 is scribbled.
I didn't.
There was one that was like, there's like a.
I just thought this was the dumbest thing.
Oh,
like
Tom
decoded-
Warren.
decoded
Tom
it,
Warren
you know,
posted
read it.
something. Also,
Yeah, it's just the little messages about Windows 10.
yeah. Tom Warren posted that there's at the Microsoft booth there was a T-shirt and it says like all the Windows numbers and then it says 7, 8, and then 9 is like scribbled.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And it says 10. Well, at least they could laugh at themselves. I'm ready when you are, Paul.
I'm never going to be ready, so why don't you just go ahead and
well,
make
you tell me, do you need another minute?
It's a second. It's
okay. All right. Hey, everybody. We will be recording the show in 3, 2, and 1. Everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Major Zarin. Of course, I'm joined by a very busy and traveling Paul Thurrott. How you doing, Paul?
Pretty good. How are you?
You have been all over the place this past, I want to say 2 weeks or the month. The past month. Yeah.
It's a couple weeks.
So you were in San Francisco. You were in Chicago 2 days yesterday. Where else did you go?
Before that.
Where was it? Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Going to Vegas.
You're going to Vegas tomorrow.
Tonight.
You're taking a red eye?
No, just a night flight.
Just a night flight. So I don't know how you're doing it. I mean, in all the years that we've done these shows, I know, sporadically you'll travel, you have to go places. Yeah. You obviously go to Europe on vacation, you take those, but I've never.
This is an unusual year.
This is like insane.
Well, I don't know. It comes in spurts, This one is weird because the Microsoft events are back to back. They used to be spread out by a month. I'm going to China at the end of the month, unless that falls apart, which it seems like they're doing everything they can to make fall apart. and I'm actually going to Europe twice this summer as well, which is unusual. So it's kind of just a weird year.
It's a weird year for you. It's weird for me too, Paul. Life is just in general weird for me. There's so much to talk about because we did the show last Monday. Today is Thursday. We're recording the show Thursday, and that's why the show is out late. It'll probably be out within a couple hours because John is a great editor, and he'll have this thing posted. But we missed Build and Ignite, so it's kind of going to be a recap of those things and a discussion about that. But before we go into that, I want to thank our sponsor, and they've been with us for a long time, and that's, there we go, Harry's. As you can see, I got a nice little beard going here. So for me, shaving is not an everyday thing. And I told the story last time we spoke about Harry's, where I always have been buying these same razors from day one. It's these, I don't know, should I say the name, Paul? Should I say the brand of what I've been buying? Think that's a problem? I don't know. Well, they're these, cheapo, very thin, double